Welcome to the Couchboard, where we naively talk about anything and everything for your listening pleasure. I am Max, and as always, I have my pals Colby and Jordan. Gentlemen, how is it going today?
Fantastic.
So good. So good.
Great. So happy to hear
just top of the world.
We're doing fantastic and good. I am well, so good stuff.
Average across the board.
I know. Isn't it kind of sad that when people say I'm good, that really just means I'm okay? It doesn't actually mean you're good.
Because you're only actually good if you say great or fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, good is just normal.
I never thought I would care, but now because technically saying good is not correct, like you're supposed to
right,
say
that's also
I'm
true.
Well, I thought I would never start saying that, but now I'm catching myself say it more and more, and I hate myself for it.
I know, but isn't it then like I try and do that more too, mostly because both my father and mother-in-law are English majors, and they are very good at enforcing correct grammar rules. But I also feel kind of pretentious sometimes when I say I am well, because it's like, oh, like it doesn't, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, I'm kind of snobby for
that's how
using
I feel.
English correctly.
Yeah, that's how I feel. It's like, how are you doing? I am well. It's like,
I am well. One of these people that just has to make sure that he's using correct grammar. Oh.
Yep. Anyway.
Well, what have we been up to these days since the last week we spoke? Jordan, we'll start with you. What's new? What's interesting in your life?
Well, so many things are interesting. No, I'm becoming a barbecue fiend. I just last night cooked 2 racks of baby back ribs and a larger rack of spare ribs, and pretty good stuff.
Smoke them or grilled them, or what was the approach?
I smoked them.
Nice.
I got lots of layers of seasoning on there, and
what kind of wood?
Yeah, I smoked them over some cherry mixed with hickory, which was.
Where do you source your wood from? This is a serious question. I always wonder where smokers are getting all their wood from.
Well, I am a novice, so I just go to Lowe's or Walmart because I haven't bothered to really get into anything else very special. So, wherever I can find it. So I did come across some apple, which I'm kind of interested to try. Maybe some chicken with or something. So yeah, I don't know. It was good. The ribs were good. I just have to be a little bit more cognizant about the weights of the meat because I basically left them on about the same amount of time, but because the spare ribs are so much larger, they were perfect. They were nice and juicy and yummy. But the baby backs being smaller, they got a little
right.
toughened up a little too much. But, I mean, still good. Had them for lunch today. Still fantastic. So it's fun. Just something, the new form of cooking to explore. So.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I kind of, that definitely has parallels to baking. I think I've said before, like, I love to bake because it's rewarding because it's not like you can just do it. Like, it takes some effort and some skill and some learning to master it, and smoking is definitely tricky.
You gotta be a little prepared to throw some money away on some meat that you just
right. I know, and that's tricky.
But, I'm working on it.
Well, that's cool. And sorry, did you just eat the meat by itself, or did you like make sandwiches, or what was the? I want insights into the meal itself.
Well, let me tell you, it was pretty plain. We just had the meat, but I did make some Famous Dave's cornbread, just out of the box because it's fantastic, nice and honey flavored, tasty stuff. And that and some barbecue chips for the kids. I had a couple of those, but it was good.
Do you guys remember that show, Dinner and a Movie, that used to be on cable TV?
TBS
they'd cook a meal and then show like a good movie.
Yeah.
I don't know why this reminded me of that, but I missed that.
No, that's
it's the song.
You wait your turn, Colby, before these random outbursts. I don't know what you're talking about over
Do you
there.
remember the theme song? It was like beans and cornbread, beans and cornbread. That's why. Anyway, sorry for the interruption.
I never saw the show. I have no idea what you guys are
it
talking
was
about.
it was a good show, but then
Yeah.
Was
depending.
it like a dating show or what was it?
No, it was just
They basically would just show a movie, but like during the commercial breaks, they would take a few minutes and like do a little cooking thing for like a dinner.
Yeah. So, depending on what the recipe was, they would just show you, hey, now, after this next commercial break, we're going to check on the stew and see how it's stewing or whatever. And they would do that all, through half the movie, and then you'd eat. And
they'd always do like funny names for the meals. Like when like The Fugitive was on, they made We Always Get Our Manicotti. Good stuff.
Clever.
Oh my goodness.
I'll say one more thing. Speaking of movies now, did we bring up classic movies at one point? Audrey Hepburn.
It was in our trivia game.
That's what it was. Well, I've been going on a Audrey Hepburn tear, and we watched Roman Holiday, and we started My Fair Lady. And
Classic.
Charades up, and then Breakfast at Tiffany's. We're gonna crank right through on that and Seinfeld at the same time. So, yeah, it's been fun.
Nice.
So I think we'll have to have an Audrey Hepburn episode in the future because she's great.
She is great.
Well, between Jordan speaking English correctly and watching Audrey Hepburn movies, he's just a very cultured individual.
Yeah.
On our team here.
That's right. You better believe it.
We love and appreciate you, Jordan. Colby, what's new in your world? What have you been up to?
Oh, not much. Had a birthday, so that was fun. The big 5'8".
What kind of now? How does that work? Since
just
your
kidding.
wife is, well, yeah. How do birthdays work? Explain. No. Since your wife is gluten intolerant, does that mean that on your birthday your cake is gluten free?
Well.
Does your wife let you have a good old fashioned birthday cake?
It depends. Usually we just do a gluten-free one, and there's some good ones. I made for her birthday or Mother's Day last year or something, a really good gluten-free angel food cake, and that's one of our favorites. I actually almost like the gluten-free better than the normal one. But it kind of just depends. Brooks,
he's really lied to himself a lot there, ladies and gentlemen. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, so my wife's family was in town, so we had gluten cakes, and my wife and her sister, who's also gluten intolerant, had a gluten-free angel food cake. So we did angel food cake gluten-free and with gluten, but we did an orange glaze on one of them and a lemon glaze on the other. It was really, really good.
Is angel food cake your cake?
Yeah, it's up there. I'm not a huge chocolate person, and so I like the white cakes with some fruity stuff on them is usually what I like.
Speaking of white cake, I'm making one this weekend. Since we got 4th of July coming up, I'm going to make a white cake, but like it look like the American flag, like everyone does on 4th of July. So
there you go. With strawberries and blueberries.
Blueberries.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
There
Yes,
you
sir.
go.
Yes, sir.
Nice.
I got a smartwatch, which is what
What'd you get?
it's the Samsung Active 2.
Cool.
I'm hoping
You like
it
it?
becomes one of those things that like you can't live without, and you didn't know you couldn't live without it when you didn't have it, just because you were so ignorant to all the fun things it can do. I've only had it for like a day, but I like it so far. I need to learn more about it, but I really like it.
I bought the Samsung like Frontier like 3 or something. So this was like their watch. This was probably about 3 years ago I bought it.
Oh, yeah.
And usually I just love new technology and stuff like that. But that thing was expensive. I think I spent like $350 on it. And then I bought like a data plan with it. So I was paying like an extra $10 a month to have it on my data plan because I wanted to just be able to go out on runs and stream music from my watch and not have to bring my phone with me. And it for the most part, it's fine. But actually, it was like one of the few times where I returned it within like the 45-day period because I was like, I don't know, it just felt kind of gimmicky to me. Like I didn't really actually need or use a lot of the features on it. So I was like, I'm just going to take this back. But
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
at some point, I would, especially now that I'm doing more running, I would like to get one.
Yeah. And that's kind of why I haven't wanted one for so long, because I feel like it's just kind of redundant. But they do a lot these days. My wife's mom has one, and she swears by it. She loves it. So, I mean, if nothing else, the Find My Phone option is going to be really helpful, because my kids run off with my phone, and I find it in really random places in the house. So
Yeah.
this will be helpful for that.
I have a bunch of Google Homes in my house, and that's probably the most common question I ask Google all the time. It's like, hey, Google, actually, I have to be careful of not finishing that sentence. Otherwise, it's going to start making my phone ring because there's one in this room right now.
Yeah, I use that too. But does your phone ever fall like out of your pocket in between the seat and the console in the car? Yep. And then you're looking everywhere, and you're like, where the heck is the phone? This is going to solve that problem for me.
Yeah.
I think they're best for working out. I feel like besides working out, I just kind of felt like, what do I have this for? Like, if I really wanted to track my
Do you have one, Jordan?
I do, but I never really use it anymore. It just was occasionally working out. But it just is like convenient for tracking heart rate and stuff while you're working out, and controlling your music easier, or when you're listening to the Couchboard podcast, it's really easy to
it's
to
really
listen.
good for that.
Yeah, but I just didn't. I don't know. I just didn't find many uses outside of that for it. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how I like it.
Yep. Give us your thoughts.
We'll see. We'll see next week.
I'll keep you updated.
He's still singing praises, or if he encounters some buyer's remorse. If nothing else, you've earned your mother-in-law's respect by buying this watch. Colby.
Exactly.
So it was worth the investment.
Yeah.
What about you, Max? What are you doing?
I am still playing Last of Us Part 2, and it is fantastic. I'm about halfway through now, I think. But yeah, it's getting really dark. It's getting really gritty. It's getting really intense, and it almost kind of has like a Game of Thrones feel to it, where characters will die without warning or without notice, which I actually kind of appreciate a little bit, where, usually like in movies, like before like a pretty major character dies, like, there's like some kind of build up to it. And like they get their final words in. Yeah. But this one, like people just will die, and you're like, whoa, like I never had like my last conversation with you, but I guess that's
but the game the premise is like a post-apocalyptic type of setting, like end of the world, where people are
basically the premise of The Last of Us is there's been a fungal outbreak that basically turns people into zombies, and the fungus, which then would one of the more scary enemies in the game are clickers, and so like the fungus kind of grows over their face and over their eyes, so they can't actually see you, which actually makes for some really tense gameplay moments, because like sometimes you'll have to like sneak right by these enemies in plain sight of them, and you're just standing there right in front of them, but they can't see you, but they just make clicking noises as kind of what's it called, whatever bats do,
sonar.
Yeah, kind of like exactly, to locate you. But yeah, it's the whole world has gone to hell. There's been this big virus outbreak. People are kind of living in random communities. I'm not actually a huge fan of zombie shows or zombie movies, but this one I really like, and it's probably because it's the characters are really good. That's the appeal of it to me versus the zombie setting. Although I think it's a pretty successful approach to the zombie formula.
I have zombie fatigue.
There's been a lot. I feel like it's died down a little bit, but yeah, there was a moment there where just like there was just constant zombie movies, zombie TV shows, and
the concept of zombies is so out there for me. Like I feel like I can only enjoy them when they're like comedies, like Zombieland.
Which I never saw Zombieland 2. Did anyone see Zombieland 2?
I did. It was fun.
Was it good?
Well, not as good as the first, but it was good.
Okay, I'll have to check it out.
One show I didn't mention when we talked about TV shows was The Walking Dead. After the sixth season, I really just dropped off and just stopped watching it.
What are they at now?
We're up to the 10th season. So,
and are they just going to keep going, or is there any end in sight that we know of?
So there's they've got one episode left to the 10th season, but COVID derailed that. So they'll have that
What are they trying to do in that show? Are they trying to find a cure? Or are they just trying to survive? Like, what's the end game?
Survival, essentially.
Okay.
And so they've evolved past the idea of zombies. Like, those are very secondary. It's more of how they're interacting with people that are still alive. And right. I don't know, this past season, I really liked it. It's grabbed my attention again. Before it came out, I did go back and finish the other seasons I skipped. But and then they're having, well, again, who knows how COVID's affecting the entertainment industry and things. But their plan is to have movies come out as well. That because, spoiler alert, who's his face? Andrew Lincoln died off, supposedly, but he didn't really die, and so now he's going to be featured in these movies, and they'll tie into the seasons, and I don't know. I think it's pulling me back in. So that's for the most part. I agree with you guys. Zombie stuff has been overplayed, but I like that one. I liked Walking Dead. So anyway,
yeah, zombie video games are fun though because they're just suspenseful. Yeah. But the movies, I'm kind of done with.
It's tense. One thing I will say about The Last of Us Part 2 that's really impressive is there was a moment in the game where the main character kind of finds out something and breaks down and starts crying. But it was like, it looked very realistic, like her facial emotion, like expressions and everything, which I think is something that video games have traditionally struggled with, is like their facial expressions and like the way they move and kind of act can sometimes look a little bit awkward or a little bit funky. But this looked really good, and I know they spent a lot of time on that. Like every cutscene in the game has been acted out by real actors, and like they had like those sensors on their face to like watch, and then they'll like go back afterwards and like post production and clean it up. But yeah, kudos to them for.
Isn't that the one where they got in trouble for using a character that looked like Ellen Page?
So originally the girl, her name in the game, her name is Ellie, and she did kind of look like Ellen Page, and so then they, and I don't think they actually got in trouble. I think Ellen Page just
got upset.
And she, ironically, around the same time, she was coming out in another video game where she was doing the motion capture for that. And that was called, I think it was called Beyond Two Souls or something like that, where the character was motion captured by Ellen Page and looks just like Ellen Page. So, and I think there definitely was some resemblance between the two. But Naughty Dog went in and made the girl and Ellie made her look a lot more like the actual actress who plays her. So you might say today like there is some resemblance, but I don't think it's like super close. But that is actually, I've actually wondered that, like not just like video game designers, but even like artists, like do you like I don't have an artistic bone in my body, but it's like easy just to like make up a face from like nothing, or like do you usually like need to draw inspiration from like something else in your mind? Is this making sense what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know from a personal standpoint, an artistic standpoint, but I know AI can generate people from scratch.
Oh, interesting.
Like their features and everything, but they're bound to be feeding off of what they've taken in, what they've digested,
right,
from images of real people. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah. I feel like we've done our introduction a little too long, but one other thing I'll shout out is I just started watching a new show last week on Netflix called, I think it's called Never Have I Ever. Have you guys heard of this show?
I've heard of
the
it.
Game.
It's a game? Oh, yeah, the game. Yeah, of course. It's actually a pretty funny show. It's about a teenage girl in high school. I think the show's produced by Mindy Kaling. I could be wrong on that. But the main character, she's just really funny, and she's kind of a spitfire. Anyways, if you're looking for a good comedy to watch with your wives, I'd recommend it. It's pretty good.
Cool. Will do.
Alrighty, well, let's go ahead and jump into today's topic. So today we're going to be talking about travel. And we're just going to talk about our own all of our own personal experiences with travel. What do we like? What do we not like about it? It's not a competition. It's a no judgment zone. We're not here to brag about everywhere we have or haven't been. But yeah, we thought it would be fun to just talk about our attitudes when it comes to traveling, maybe share some of our hacks, our tips, best practices with all of you. And then, of course, as always, for all of our millions of listeners out there, we'd like for you to reach out to us. Let us know what we missed on this episode, let us know what travel tips and hobbies that you guys are up to. But let's go ahead and start from the top, though, and let's just talk about our backgrounds as it comes to traveling. And as I was preparing the outline for this episode, I was thinking about kind of what my experiences were as a kid and traveling with my family and how much traveling we actually did. So I'm curious to get your guys' reaction to that. Like what was your background with traveling growing up? Like how much traveling did you guys do with your families? Colby, let's start with you.
When I was growing up as a kid, we did mostly road tripping. We would drive between northern Utah and southern California and southern Arizona in a triangle, essentially. So that's mostly what we did when I was younger. When I got a little older, we did some fun cross-country trips. We drove to D.C. and saw lots of things along the way. Did one Europe trip. Actually, I did 2 Europe trips in high school. And one trip to Cancun. So yeah, when I was a teenager, we did a lot more and farther. But when I was younger, it was mostly just not super far, mostly just the western U.S. and all driving. So, yeah.
Cool. What about you, Jordan?
Yeah, pretty similar. So I kind of grew up on the East Coast, and so, but family was back west. So we would have road trips from the east side of the country to the west side, which it was what it was. But that was probably our most frequent trip, was just driving from one side of the country to the other, and we'd make stops in between at national parks or monuments and things like that. So but we would generally just go to see family for the most part. But we, like I said, we'd always have time to go to like Yellowstone or something like that. But there's a couple trips, to DC and stuff like that, the beach, Myrtle Beach. But mainly, we never, as kids, do we travel internationally. It was all just domestic road trips, which make for their own pack of memories, right? And it was fun, especially, so there's 4 kids in my family, so that got a little hectic. I'm sure my parents enjoyed that a lot, but yeah, pretty much how we traveled when I was growing up.
Yeah, I agree with you there that we could all probably write novels about horror stories of traveling with our parents across the country on these really long road trips. But funny, I really don't have anything to add here because my childhood experiences are super similar to both of yours, where very rarely did we ever fly. I mean, I don't really remember flying as like a kid until like I was a teenager. I mean, it was always in the car, which is like kind of funny if you think about it, like Colby talking about road tripping all the way like across the country to DC. I mean, that's a long haul, and I think in today's world, I don't know if you could pay me to make that road trip with kids. But hats off to our parents for stomaching it and for dealing with it. But yeah, no, and then certainly I never did any international traveling with my parents. In fact, I had never been outside of the country until I was 19 and went on a mission in South America for a couple of years. But it's kind of like funny to me to think about today. Like that was my first time venturing outside of the United States.
You never went to Nogi?
No.
Really?
That seems like a rite of passage when you move to Tucson. You got to go to Nogales, cross the border.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't think you had to have a passport to do that.
No,
right?
you didn't.
Right? Just your driver's license.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess that's not true. I did do a cross-country meet once in Nogales, but I thought for some reason I was still on the Arizona side. I didn't think like they had, in like middle school, that they could take a bus across the border with us.
Probably not.
Well, there is the U.S. side and the Mexican side. So I don't know. Who knows? But you were close.
I was close. Cool. So next question then. We all have kids. How much traveling do you guys do with your kids, and any best practices on surviving travel with small children? Jordan, we'll start with you.
So we have traveled with kids. We've probably done more road trips with them, but we've also flown to Mexico with them, which wasn't too terrible. Actually, our kids have been both pretty good about air travel. It's probably the worst part is probably in the airports when you're waiting for hours.
Right.
But as far as them being on the planes, when they were babies, when they were infants, we would feed them and calm them down, get them quiet. So they did pretty good. Or even when they're toddlers, if we just make sure they've got snacks and stuff to keep them entertained, a couple-hour flight is not too bad. So we've never done anything beyond 2 hours as far as plane trips go. So with the kids, so that would get kind of hairy if you're getting really international. So I couldn't quite imagine a European flight or Asian flight with kids. But we've also done plenty of road trips with them, which has been fun. They're kids, and they just get on your nerves after a number of hours in the car, and they feel like years. But yeah, I don't know. Sometimes it's just got to do it. Just got to start to tune them out and focus on the drive. I don't know. Both are fun. I'll say that.
All right, Colby. What words of wisdom do you have for us?
Don't do it.
Leave them at home.
It's not worth it. No, I don't know. It depends. I mean, I've flown with little kids from Salt Lake to Boston and from Salt Lake to Orlando, and both of those were miserable. Those were like 4.5-hour flights, and those were super rough. Yeah. But we'll take a little 2-hour flight straight from Utah to Reno, or Utah to LA, or Utah to Arizona, and those are not bad. Those are pretty easy. So like 2 hours is about the limit. It's not even 2 hours. It's like an hour and a half, a lot of them. So, but once you get past that, it gets real rough. That's what I would say. Maybe keep your flight time under 2 hours if you're flying with little kids. Driving is better, depending if you have like fun stuff for the kids to do. We've done a lot of driving in the Western U.S. What we usually do is if we're going to drive on a road trip, we'll get up super early in the morning and we'll leave like at 4 a.m. So the kids just like sleep for like the first half of the trip, and then they're only awake for like the second half. But yeah, as long as you have stuff to do and you can stop and get out on occasion. We were going to drive to Arizona, but we decided to fly because like the only way we survive road trips is getting out and playing like at McDonald's in every city that we stop at. And it's like with COVID, what's worse is the kids playing in the play except most of the play places are closed anyway. So we wouldn't have survived. We wouldn't have made it.
Yeah.
But they both can be fun. You just gotta be prepared. You gotta have like a backpack full of stuff to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's the hard part about say between Tucson and Salt Lake. We've got some family up there. It's about a 12-hour drive. But if you're going to fly from Tucson's not the greatest airport, so I guess going to Salt Lake's not terrible because you can usually get a direct flight if you really wanted to, but you're paying a premium. So anyway, either you're flying to Phoenix and then to Salt Lake, or you're paying a lot more to fly out of Tucson. And when you've got a lot of kids, that's that many more extra expensive tickets. So when you factor all that in, it's like, well, does sitting in an airport for probably a total of 3-4 hours and then flight times, how does that really compare to just driving? Is it that much better? And sometimes it's just not. So I mean, depending on what your time frame is, it can just be a lot easier just to drive, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a lot less expensive to drive too.
Yeah.
But then I don't know, it takes like a whole day. So whereas if you fly, you can still do vacation-y things that day. But if you're going to do like a 12-hour drive, your day is gone. So you took a day off of work to spend literally all day in the car just getting to where you're going to hang out. So there's pros and cons.
Yep.
Yeah, we just have our 1 2-year-old, and we definitely did quite a bit of traveling with her when she was a baby. And I think traveling with babies is actually pretty easy and pretty straightforward. In fact, I kind of prefer to fly with a newborn versus driving with a newborn for whatever reason. But yeah, we just kind of always try to time it or make it work so she would just fall asleep on the plane. And we were always able to pull that one off, but we haven't. But now that she's older, like the thought of flying with my daughter, love her to death. She's a really well-behaved kid, but just have so much energy, and I just hate. It just gives me anxiety, like being trapped on a plane with her, and she starts losing her mind, and you're trying to keep all your fellow passengers from hating you. So we actually haven't flown with her in a long time. We did just actually, ironically, that we're talking about this today, we did just finish a road trip over the weekend and this last week, where we spent a lot of time in the car over the last few days, and echo some of the feedback or some of the thoughts that you guys had. Is just like you just have to have a carousel or some kind of like rotating wheel or set of different like activities or games or things just to entertain your kid, because like things only last for so long. Hopefully they sleep for part of it. But yeah, we also broke up our trip into smaller segments to, not make ourselves go totally insane. So agree with all that. Oh, but I will also say like flying with kids, like that is like that is something that you can really nail down to a science. Like the first time like I flew with my daughter versus like the fifth time like I flew, like it's like down to a science. It's like, all right, I'm gonna like check this, I'm gonna like gate check this thing, I'm going like this is how I'm gonna get all my stuff through like security, because like you really do have to bring like an arsenal of things with you when you like fly. You've got like the car seat, you've got the stroller, you've got like the carrier, you've got like their diaper bag. Like it's just insane. Yeah. Like when are you going to change their diaper? Like before you get on the plane, before you leave for the airport, while you're on the plane, like there's just a lot of different variables to account for.
Those dang car seats and the little pack and plays, those are the worst. And if you've got,
pack and play, that's another one. Yeah.
more than one kid, then you just double, triple everything, it's such a pain, whereas before, if it's just you traveling, you can kind of just pack up whatever you want, throw it in a bag and go, right? But then you have to deal with like getting through security and stuff. Like you definitely do get better with it. I do agree with you. I think that it takes practice, but there's a lot to think about, a lot to consider, and so there's a lot of planning. But
it's nice that you get to board early.
Sometimes,
not all the time.
Yeah.
Only on like Southwest do they let you do that still. Most of the airlines don't do that anymore. Yeah, that's
Allegiant does still.
Yeah, that's like a dying courtesy. You're kind of stuck. I think I've seen some people. I haven't gotten to this point where I just go up to the gate with my kid and depend on the mercy or the the good nature of the gate agent to let me through. But I've seen tons of parents do that where they just kind of assume the sale, and I both hate them and salute them because I just don't have the guts to be that person.
You'll get there. You'll get there, kid.
I know, I'm sure. Once I have more than one. You just stop. You really stop caring what people think of you.
Oh, 100%. It goes out the window.
Cool. Next question: shopping for travel. So, how do you guys, when you're planning your next big vacation, like if you do want to go somewhere, say, and let's assume like you're flying somewhere, so you're going somewhere like pretty far out of the way. Like, how do you like shop for travel? So,
you mean like tickets, accommodations, that stuff?
Yeah, all that stuff. Like, what's your approach? Like, how do you like? Do you shop for deals? Do you just kind of go online and just Google flights for whenever you want to go? Like, is there a method to your madness, or you just going for the path of least resistance?
I usually check like one or two airlines for the same flights and compare the cost and compare maybe 2 or 3 places to stay. But I don't go overboard with it. I don't know. I don't really use the third-party sites like Expedia or anything like that. I've heard good things and I've heard bad things, so I don't really know that either way on those.
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on where, if it's a trip that I've done multiple times before and I kind of know what to expect for cost, then I won't put too much thought into it. But if it's something new, there are those little tips where you can use like the Expedias and Orbits and things, but then you can also, and I don't know if this is still accurate or not, but they say that, they'll track you, they'll throw some cookies on you. Yeah. And so the next time you come back, like, oh no, there's fewer tickets, and the cost has gone up a little bit. So if you use incognito mode, like it's supposed to be like the real cost and how it really looks, but because it's like you're a new traveler. I don't know. So I mean, I'll kind of do that, but I just use Skyscanner is a pretty good site for flights. And you can search by like a whole month if you want. Like say I know I want to go on a vacation, say in October. Well, then I can search for the whole month for flights, and if you just do like one-way flights, it's usually cheaper. And that seems to be a pretty good little site because it sources all of the Expedias plus like Deltas and the main companies themselves. So that's kind of the one my main starting point.
Yeah, I have family that works for an airline, and so most of the time I'll just buy a buddy pass from them if I can and avoid this altogether. Then you have to fly standby, which is kind of annoying, especially with kids. But
yeah, that'd be terrible.
It's rough. We've done that a couple times, but yeah, like I need to look more into those sites because they seem like they help.
They do. I don't know anything about it actually. Just like an hour ago, I was asking my wife before I hopped on. I was like, "Hey, how do you shop for our travel?" Because I wasn't like really into travel before Emily and I got married, but she kind of like grew up like in a family where like they really value travel and like traveling internationally. And I didn't really get it until we started going to some of those places. But it's expensive, but you can really find some good deals. Like some of the ones she called out. There's a site called Travel Zoo. That she's used and gotten some good deals on, and there's also I think she said it was an email chain or subscription or whatever called Scott's Cheap Flights, where she's gotten some good deals. But yeah, we've like been very fortunate to go on some night. Like I remember we flew from DC to Paris, and I think round trip our tickets were only like $400 a pop, which is not half bad. And we were flying on. We flew British Airways, which I actually thought was a nicer airline until I actually was on the plane. There's not a lot of leg room for us tall people. It was kind of miserable. But I mean, hey, it was a legit airline. Like you weren't in some like tiny little jet hoping you make it there in one piece. But I hear people go, oh, like there's only so much you can do to like cut the costs. But actually, like if you're really diligent and on it and really do your homework, I think you can do some pretty cool trips.
Yeah, I think if you plan like in advance.
It's work.
Yeah.
It's definitely, I mean, like there's obviously, and then there's like little hacks you can do with credit card points and things like that. I know those are getting a little bit harder to use as effectively as people have it in the past, but definitely there's some efficiencies that you can gain if you're willing to put it in the work to make it happen. So cool. All right, well now I'm going to move into some rapid fire questions, and so I'm just going to ask you guys some quick questions. Give me your answer. You can give me a quick response, but I don't want to make these questions longer than they need to be or than they should be. So question number 1, and let's just have Jordan go first and then Colby go second for these rapid fire questions.
I'm ready.
So then I guess I'll go third.
All
right.
Hand on the buzzer. I'm ready.
I said you're going first, Jordan. You don't need your hand on the buzzer.
It's there. It's there. So.
All right. Question number 1. Do you prefer to travel domestically or internationally?
Internationally as a couple, domestically with kids.
Colby.
Ditto.
I would probably say ditto to a degree.
Well, I should say I'd like to take the kids internationally as they get older.
Get back into international. Yeah. Yeah, the only international traveling we've done with my daughter is to Mexico and to Canada, which doesn't really count as international in my mind. Like it's too close. I guess you have to be going over an ocean for it to really, really count. So, all right, next up. Prefer to hang out at a hotel/resort and relax, or hit the streets and go exploring all day long?
Oh, am I going first?
Okay. Yeah, you're going first on all these, Jordan.
Jeez, Jordan.
Sorry. That's tough. I think it depends on where we're going. If we're going to a hotel, like
it doesn't matter where you're going. Like I guess the better way to phrase the question is: would you rather go on a trip where you're going to plan a trip where you can go somewhere where you hang out at the hotel, or are you going to go plan a trip where you're going to go somewhere and explore?
I think if you're going somewhere, if you're going on vacation to a new location, I think it's important to explore and get to know the city, get to know the people of where you're going. But at the same time, you are getting away from work. You want to relax. You want to take a break. So you do have to kind of relax it, because it's a good balance you've got to strike. I mean, if you're trying to go, you're just going to wear yourself out, and you're just going to get tired. It's not going to be fun anymore. It's not going to be a vacation. It's just going to be work. So I do like, relaxing at the hotel, but I think kind of the main purpose behind getting away or traveling to a place is to see the city or see the area you're going to.
All right, Colby.
Same. It depends on, I think, who I'm with. Like my family, my wife and I were kind of more homebodies, so we'll plan trips around like places that are fun to just hang out and relax. But like if I was going somewhere fun, I would like to explore more. And so, like if I was with my family, like my parents or my sisters, it would definitely be more regimented of we're going to see this, we're going to see this, we're going to see this, we're going to explore. So I think it depends on who you're with a little bit. So I'd say probably half and half. I myself, if I was going to do a vacation on my own, it would probably be half and half.
Yeah, I think I prefer to explore. Don't get me wrong, I love some good old relaxation, but I think some of my favorite travel memories are 99% of them aren't just like hanging out at a hotel, but it's just like going out, seeing new things, exploring new things, like all that fun stuff. And so, but yeah, to your guys' points, it's definitely a balance. I remember like the first time I went on an international trip with my wife, I remember just being like, oh my gosh, like I just want to go to the hotel and relax. And my wife's like, no, my wife's like, this isn't a vacation, this is a trip. And I was like, oh, I thought we were just going to be like a little bit more bums on this trip. But now I get it. I appreciate it. But yeah, it's definitely a balance. You can really work yourself to death on vacation trips and kind of ruin the fun. All right, next question. Jordan, hotel or Airbnb?
Again, it depends. But I think it generally...
No, it depends. Just go with your gut.
It depends on who's going. Like Colby said, like if it's just me and my wife, I think we'd be fine with a hotel. If it's family, then Airbnbs are just a lot more convenient because you have a kitchen and multiple bathrooms and like it's like a home away from home. Whereas hotel, if I am going on a trip with just my wife, we're probably going to be going out to eat, every night and plan on that. So it's not like we necessarily need a place to cook and to enjoy, to sit down and regroup. So I would say that's how it delineates. If it's a big family, Airbnbs are definitely better in my view.
Yeah, I think it depends again. So like the Airbnb kind of lends itself to the hanging out in a hotel. Yeah. I like a hotel because it kind of makes you bored. If you're just trying to hang out, you're going to get bored pretty quick in a hotel room. And so you're going to want to explore and go do things more. But yeah, if you're going somewhere with kids, like if you go to Lake Tahoe or something, where the vacation is being there in the beautiful location and, going down the lake occasionally, then you're going to want an Airbnb because of the convenience. But if you're just, huffing on the street all day, you're going to want a hotel. I think I prefer hotels because it just feels more
exciting,
special, which is weird. Yeah, it's exciting. It's just different than the norm.
You don't have to pick up after yourself.
And you don't have to pick up yourself. Exactly. But Airbnbs are definitely convenient.
Yeah, I think I think I used to like hotels more, but I think now I'm starting to like Airbnbs more. Mostly because I've saved a ton of money using an Airbnb versus a hotel. Like I remember when we hung out in Paris for like a week, we found like a fine Airbnb, like it was in good shape and way cheaper than what we would have spent to stay in a hotel, and we were right in the city. And so yeah, and it also like sometimes I just like even when I'm traveling and you've been hitting the streets all day, like it feels good just to like come back to like a more normal home for whatever reason, even though it's not actually your home. But Airbnb's probably the one I would prefer, but they both have their pros and cons. All right, next question. Would you rather go see a city or go see a countryside? Colby, we'll have you answer this one first.
I buzzed.
Nope, I didn't hear it.
I mean, that's hard. I like both. It's impossible to answer one way or the other. I enjoy fun cities and I enjoy beautiful country. So it's a toss-up.
Captain Obvious has a gun to your head. Is that his name from those commercials?
Yeah, Captain Obvious.
What's it going to be, Colby? Come on.
Well, I'd say city right now because
There you go.
most of mine recently have been otherwise. So
Jordan.
Depends. No, I'm kidding. I don't know. I think countryside, I guess. I don't know. It really does depend. But I feel like countryside's nice. You can kind of explore on your own and just, you're generally out in nature, just able to do whatever you feel like doing. And I don't know, just explore a little bit. Both are fun.
They both are definitely fun. I think I prefer countryside. Cities are great, but sometimes I just like being out in nature. Feels like a little bit more unplugged. And like you said, there's a bit more to see, and it's just interesting.
Not that it, has to be a factor. I don't know. I kind of think if you're going on vacation, you go and you just enjoy it. You spend what you're going to spend, but you definitely, if you're in the city, you're going to be spending on everything. So, you're going to spend for travel, transportation, your museum you're going to, or whatever site you're going to see. But with the countryside, it's kind of like you just kind of get out there and enjoy without having to calculating costs all the time.
Yep. All right. Let's make these a little bit more rapid fire. And no more of this it depends stuff. Just go with your gut. All right, next one. Would you rather go on a vacation where you have to fly to the destination, or would you rather road trip? Jordan.
Fail.
I would say road trip, probably.
Colby.
Fly. It's miserable, but it's better.
I think I like road trip more, even though they're both terrible.
Yeah.
I feel like you make a little bit more memories on road trips.
Exactly. There's no memories to be made. Well, no good memories to be made on a plane. All right. You're going out into the great outdoors. You're going out into the wild. Would you rather camp or stay at the lodge?
Bam. Lodge. Though I like camping.
Yeah.
But with a family, it's tricky.
Lodge. I don't camp unless I have to.
That's funny because are we all Eagle Scouts here?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think I'm going to say camp on this one. I like hanging out around the fire.
You can do that and still go into a room and take a shower after.
Yeah, the whole not showering thing. I get maybe I'm not allowed to say it depends, but maybe it does depend on how long you're camping versus how long you're staying in the lodge. I still remember my wife and I think this was like for our second anniversary, we went out to, what's it called? Bryce Canyon National Park. We brought all like our camping gear, like fully ready to like camp. This was it was like almost summertime. I want to say it was like in May. We show up to the park and there's like snow on the ground and we just like didn't have like the camping gear to be out and roughing it in the snow. So I went to the lodge. I was like, how much does it cost to stay here? And like, we have like one room and it was like several $100s. And I was like, fine, I'll pay whatever. I don't want to be camping in the snow tonight. And
they probably price gouged you.
Yeah, exactly.
Like there's snow on the ground. We can milk this.
I know. All right, next question. Would you rather go on a trip with or without your kids? Leaving tomorrow. You're going on vacation tomorrow. Would you rather go with or without the kids? Colby.
I love my kids, but without 100%.
Yeah. You didn't need to add that qualifier in there. Doesn't make you a bad person.
I have to if they ever listen to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's no question, right? I mean, it's just, you love them, but it's just a lot easier to enjoy.
Oh my gosh, just say without the kids, you guys.
I hate my kids.
That's why.
It's just a lot easier to enjoy wherever you're going without kids.
Correct. I would say without kids.
Unless you're going to Disneyland or something, but different story.
Nah. Kids still enjoy it.
Yeah, actually, we went on a trip with some of my wife's siblings and their spouses last year to Disneyland, but it was like a no kids Disneyland trip, and it was a blast. Way more fun than we would have had if we were bringing kids with us. So,
but it's different, right?
It's different, totally different.
You're taking a ton of joy and happiness when your kids are at Disneyland with you.
Yeah, we took our kids to Disney World, and it was fun. It was fun.
But it was also terrible.
The flight was terrible.
All right. Rent a car or taxi around?
Rent.
Colby.
I would rent unless I had to park it.
Yeah, unless I'm going to a major city.
Parking stresses me out in big cities. But other than that, I usually would rent.
I would say rent too. Although, like when my wife and I went to Southeast Asia, I would never want to rent a car. Like, and driving rules and just etiquette and all that. Like it's just more of like the wild, wild west when they're out on the roads. And in that case, I was grateful to have someone else drive me around and deal with that. That was nice. But definitely, if I'm traveling in the U.S., I'd rather have my own car versus trying to Uber around. All right, so that's the end of the rapid fire questions. So I just want to do a few last questions before we wrap up this episode. So if you had to pick a handful of your favorite travel and vacation spots, where would they be and why do you like them so much? Jordan.
I mean, as we said, Disneyland is great with kids. Like when they're in the right age group, and they're still young and still excited with seeing all the characters and the things that they've seen in the movies. Like it's pretty awesome to go to places like that are basically set up for the kids, but also allow the adults to have fun too. Yeah, I mean, if I had to say just one, that would be best given current state in life with kids' ages and stuff.
Cool. Colby.
Lake Tahoe is one of our favorites. Beautiful, beautiful place. The water can be cold, but if you go like in August, it's amazing. Carlsbad in California. It's a great beach. Go there all the time as a family, and then now that I'm married and have kids, go there. Yeah, those are probably the ones that we frequent the most. Yeah.
Best vacation I've ever been on. My wife and I went to Southeast Asia and just had an absolute blast out there. It's very once you're there, it's very affordable, which actually sometimes made me feel a little guilty. Like it was like, oh, like I feel bad that it costs like it's like so cheap to like for food, or it's like so cheap to like get around, or like your hotels are so cheap. And but it was just a really, really fun trip. And I like when I go especially when I travel internationally, like I kind of want to like see something different and just like have it be like feel very different than it does in the US. And I think that's one of my problems with traveling to Europe is like, yeah, it's definitely different and it's older. There's some more history there, but it just doesn't feel different enough to me. And also traveling in Europe is so insanely expensive. I just feel like I'm bleeding money everywhere I go in Europe. So I know there's probably a lot of people out there that live and die by traveling to Europe, but I say go check out Southeast Asia. It's cool. All right, what are the benefits that come from traveling? So why do we spend so much money on it? Why is it so important? What's the benefit that we derive from traveling and going on vacations? Colby, we'll start with you. Why do you do it? What's the point?
I mean, it's fun just to get away and to have something new. It's, a lot of times we'll travel to go see family, which is important, I think, to stay connected with family.
Or to get away from family.
Yeah, to get away from family is sometimes necessary. I agree. And then, just to kind of broaden your horizons and see different things and experience new things. Like, yeah, it's hard to think of specific examples, but when we go somewhere and see something completely different, my kids are a little less involved in what they can't have right now and a little more thoughtful about the way other people live their life. So,
yeah, I think since we're still in this COVID-19 situation, I think the opportunity or just benefit to traveling is kind of making itself more apparent. It just when you're just cooped up in your house for so long. I mean, you could say just getting out into your own town would feel better, but really it's just kind of just getting out of your normal life, and trying something new. I think with being locked up, cooped up, I think we're feeling that more and more, and we just are like looking forward to the future for what else, what can we be doing, what trips could we go on, just because we're just getting tired of being stuck here, So I think it's just a benefit. I think it just is just kind of relieving and just makes you happier.
Totally agree. And I kind of echo what Colby says, like it expands your perspective. I think that's always good. I think it's sometimes easy to fall into a rut where you're surrounded by the same people and interacting with the same people every day. And it's always good to have a refresher and look at how other people and other places in the world live their lives, and for what it's worth, it might make you feel grateful for what you have, or it might help teach you or help you learn a couple new things here and there. But also agree with what you were saying there, Jordan. I think that travel is one of the things people are missing most these days with COVID, where you just can't get out and do it, and I think it makes you really appreciate how beneficial it is for all of our well-being. So last question. Any items on the old bucket list for travel? Any vacations that you're itching to go on before you die, to get extra morbid here?
I'd love to go to Antarctica. Just kidding.
Well, it's funny that you say that. I didn't realize that. I heard about this thing recently where people will run a marathon on every continent one day for a week. So like for 7 days, they're traveling and running marathons every single day. And somehow there's one in Antarctica. I think that's where they start.
That's disgusting.
I know. And I'm like, it's one thing to run a marathon every day for 7 days straight. It's another thing to be traveling internationally all over the world and doing that.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
It'd be cool to go to Antarctica, but I don't need to.
Yeah, it would be fun, but I feel like it would just be so you could say that you've been to
Right.
Antarctica.
Yeah, that's the only reason.
What is there really to see there?
Penguins.
Penguins and snow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
What about you, Jordan?
Sorry.
No, Colby, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah,
you were
my
just
real
joking.
ones. I was joking. I've always wanted to go to Prague and some other Eastern European countries. So I'd love to go to Prague, Istanbul, Budapest. Some cool history there. If you ever read the Historian by Elizabeth Kostova, it's a great book. It takes place in those Eastern European cities that are super cool. Tons of cool history. I'd love to go there.
Cool. Yeah, I've never been there. That was not on my list, but hearing you talk about it, I was like, oh yeah, that would be different flavor of Europe that I haven't experienced yet. Mm-hmm. So I like that idea.
Yep. Heard good things about Prague. Seems to be a beautiful city.
Yeah.
But I would say, mine is just a broad, large list. I've just always been fascinated with the wonders of the world, and so. Who knows? Hopefully over time can start to check a couple of those off. The natural wonders and ancient man-made, modern man-made. I think it's just fun to see some of those greatest accomplishments or just greatest natural wonders of the world, just because it is so fascinating what this world has kind of produced, whether that's naturally or man-made. But I don't know. I think that would be fun just to. I know you could plan a trip to hit everything, but who knows? We'll see. See how life shakes out, right?
For sure. For me, I think I want to make it to Africa at some point in the near future. I would love to go on a safari. It just seems like it would be very different from any trip that I've done up to this point. So that's definitely something I'd like to do. Actually, and I just thought of one last question. Any favorite or funny memories from traveling that you guys can think of that might be fun to share? I can name a few if you need me to start talking so you can think of something.
I've got one.
Go ahead.
So when I was in high school, for a year I lived in England, so I was able to do some traveling over there. And actually, Colby was able to come over, and we explored Venice. And basically, at least I did, spent all of my money on gelato from street vendors all throughout Venice. And it was great.
It was just so we could go to the bathroom, though. Because you can't go to the bathroom unless you buy something. Oh, yeah. I'm just kidding. No, it was great.
No, it was a great way to spend your money. It was good food. So, no, that was just fun. That's just always stuck with me about. We did that and go-karts, which are just some random things to do in Venice. Of all the things you could do there, we went go-karting.
Yeah, and I won. It was just gonna throw that out there. But and you got that weird rash thing from the motor.
The seat was like an A-frame, so there was a bar running against my back, but there's no pad. I don't know if all the other cars had pads, but and they were the fast go-karts, so my back was just rubbing against this metal bar that was hot from the engine. So yeah, I got a nice scar from that.
Yeah,
fun.
That's crazy. I was gonna say, I think some of my favorites. We went to Cancun, which was really fun. Just a resort town, so not a ton of culture, but great beaches. And I did that with my cousins, and that was super fun. We got in trouble for swimming at night in the ocean, and apparently that's not allowed there. I'm trying to think of some other ones. Basically just beautiful days at Tahoe and on the beach in Carlsbad. Loved going to London with Jordan. I remember somehow I ended up sleeping on the same bed with Jordan and then like another mattress on top of us that Spencer was then on top of. I'm not sure how that happened, but it happened.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Good times.
Yep.
A couple of funny ones that come to mind. So, like 3 years ago, I was in Japan, and we stayed in a ryokan. And it was run by these. And I apologize if I get the terminology wrong. But it was like basically run by these like Buddhist priests. But part of like the culture there is like they have like public hot spring baths. And like they had like a thing like in a room like you've got to like you've got to like take a bath in like the public bath. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it. So I go to the bath, no one's in there. I'm like, cool. Strip down naked, hop into the hot spring, enjoying a nice good old soak, and then a couple of the priests come in. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. Again, I'm a Westerner. I'm a bit of a wuss. I'm just not used to taking baths with other people at the same time. But they just hopped into the bath with me, and so that'll be a treasured memory of just hanging out in this hot spring with these two Japanese gentlemen. Another one is when we were in Southeast Asia. We were in this was in Vietnam, and we were out. Gosh, why am I forgetting? The name will come back to where we were. But anyways, we were out on the water. We were checking out like a couple different islands, and there's these really cool limestone formations. And anyways, we went to this one island to go check out a cave, and the rocks like on the beach were like these black, really razor sharp rocks. And I was getting out of the boat, and I was like jumping to like step onto another rock, which I thought was sturdy, but as I like jumped onto it, there was another rock underneath it that kind of buckled, and I was wearing sandals, and I kind of slid off of it into some other rocks and just sliced up the whole side of my foot. Which in the moment, like so many things were going on, like I didn't think anything of it, and someone was like, "Dude, like check out your sandal," and it was just like pooling with blood. So they like they got me on a boat and took me back to like this little ship that we were kind of traveling around on. They bandaged me up. But I'm just like freaking out because like I'm in the middle of nowhere in like Vietnam. Like I hope I don't get like an infection. And like the next day we were supposed to take a train into the middle of nowhere in Vietnam and hang out in like the countryside for a few days. Funny story, while we were out in the countryside, the place where we were staying, there was a doctor from Duke Medical School that was there. You better believe I made him take a look at my foot, and he was like not real thrilled about it. But I was like, dude, we're in the middle of nowhere, and how lucky am I that I've got like this doctor from Duke Medical School. So anyways, I made him check out my foot, and he said it was fine. So that was a relief.
Gotta love that Hippocratic oath.
I know.
Just gotta do it.
Exactly. I was like, hey, I know where you work now. If you don't look at my foot, I'm gonna write a letter to you. Whoever. I don't know how it works, but
you'll be hearing from Yelp.
From Yelp. Alrighty. Any last words that you guys want to say on travel?
Get out there, do it. Take the opportunity. I know it seems like sometimes you just, a lot of stuff going on in life, work and family stuff, but I think it is important to take that time, to get away from your cares, and even if it's something, simple. I mean, we're in Arizona, but I mean, I could probably count once is for going to the Grand Canyon. But I mean, it's a pretty awesome place. Probably could, make an easy trip out of it. But I think there's plenty of those opportunities, no matter where you live, where you can just get out of your house and go explore and have some fun.
But don't do it with kids.
Yeah.
Just kidding. It's fun with kids, and it's good for kids, I think.
Yeah, it is.
As long as you don't turn into Mr. Griswold taking the kids to Wally World.
Just make sure it's open.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think of like some like the best memories I've had with like my wife and my daughter. It like most of like the ones that like I remember like the most vividly all involve like travel and vacationing for the most part. And I think it's good to build those memories. I mean, like even you guys like just talking about your trip to London, like that was what? How many years now? Like 15 years ago, maybe more.
Let's not talk about it.
Well, Colby said he's 53 now, so quite some time.
But yeah, it's just it's funny how those memories that you build around travel tend to be a little bit more sticky. So worth the investment, worth the effort, worth the sacrifice. Let's make it happen. All right, everyone. Well, that concludes today's episode. Appreciate everyone tuning in. If you have questions, thoughts, concerns, feedback that you want to send our way, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at the Couchboard, or you can email us at thecouchboard@gmail.com. And we will be, by the way, we haven't gotten a question yet, even though we know there's so many of you out there listening to us. So if you want to be the very first person to ask a question, have it be featured on this podcast, go right ahead. Your name will be legend if you do that. You just wait.
Every time I open our inbox, a moth flies out of my computer.
Well, and if you've made it to this episode and you haven't picked up on us releasing these far after we've recorded them, that's what we've done so far. So, you still have time to be that first.
You still do.
First caller.
I don't see this trend reversing quite yet, but one day we'll, one day Joe Rogan will wonder how we beat him out so bad at the podcast game.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, he'll have to just send us an email to thecouchboard@gmail.com, and we'll tell him what happened. We'll tell him what's up.
That's
right. All right. Well, Colby and Jordan, thanks for joining me today, and thanks to all of you, and we'll see you on a future episode. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye. Butt liquor. Our prices have never been better.